Is this on? Yeah, cool.
Sweet, here we are. Heading back from
Summer Kite Festival
in Poland.
in a city I cannot pronounce.
It's close to Swinemünde and it's called Międzywodzie. We shouldn't try. Probably. I think we're better
You
off
should
not-
try. I can't try.
We're probably better off not trying.
Yeah.
It might be insulting. It's been a small, nice town.
Really nice. Yeah, good stretch of coastline, very clean. I mean, they can't help the weather, but the weather has been amazing.
Absolutely amazing. Got a little bit of everything. It's got some wind.
Yep.
A lot of sunshine. Some waves building up yesterday. A little bit of wind swell hitting the beach.
From our point of view, it couldn't have been better because the 2 days of the event, there was just enough wind for races to take place, but not enough to cause any problems for doing demos with Foil Drive. And then the day after the event, that's when we got some good swell and we were able to have a little bit of full driving to ourselves, show the locals what it's capable of.
Maybe we should do a quick introduction. You're Dominic. So the first time you're not in corporate shirt I've seen you on the weekend.
That's because they're all dirty from the demo event.
Got one
Yeah,
left.
hot and sweaty all day long, wearing full drive. Yeah, surprisingly enough, I do own t-shirts that aren't Foil
I'm
Drive.
really surprised.
A couple.
Now, but you're running Foil Drive Europe, and which is a little bit more independent than from Foil Drive than I thought it would be.
Yeah, well, essentially, I'm in charge of Foil Drive Europe. We're a team of 3 full-time employees. There's myself, Jan Paul, and Andrea. You're a team rider who does a lot of work for Foil Drive, but you're sort of independent. Foil Drive Europe is really set up to be the European distributor for Foil Drive. Foil Drive Europe is owned by Foil Drive. At the moment, up until, well, pretty soon, everything is being shipped from Australia. So we're just dealing with people, putting on demo events, attending other events. But very soon now, we're going to be able to stock and sell from within Europe. So we'll be a completely separate entity. Like I say, still owned by Foil Drive.
But making it a lot easier for the customer, less hassle with the tags.
So much easier. Yeah.
Probably quicker also on the shipping.
All of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking forward to that. It should be October. So maybe a month and a half's time from now. I'm not sure when this video is going out.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, so October 2024, we should be able to make that transfer over from Foil Drive Europe being completely independent for sales and shipping orders.
Right. So you're also in charge, or you're working hard, like really hard. I've seen you working. So that's so much on your list. But events and demos are one of the things you're doing.
Yeah.
A lot of driving involved.
There has been a lot of driving. There's also been a lot of flying. So, yeah, I've honestly lost track of all the countries and locations that I've been to. It hasn't even been a year yet. So Foil Drive Europe, really, I started in Europe, I suppose it was October 2023. So we're not quite at the year mark yet. Very close to it. And yeah, the idea is to start setting up Foil Drive Europe so that it can slowly and eventually get to the point where we can start selling the full product range from within Europe. But also the main bulk of my role has been to get Foil Drive out there into as many countries as possible, as many surf or foil destinations as possible. Just increasing the awareness of Foil Drive, just trying to show people what it's capable of, spreading the Foil Drive love, really.
And stock.
Yeah. Yeah, for
So
sure.
we're just heading back from Poland. You said Poland is a little bit like not different, but I think every location or every destination you went to was different in terms of how well they know Foil Drive, what it's capable of, and
Yeah. Well, like you just said, different countries, obviously different cultures, but also different conditions and different interests. And you can't look at Europe as being just one entity. All the different countries, all the different locations have a very unique take on everything, but obviously water sports, that's what we're talking about, and very much so for foil drive. Some countries I go to, very little awareness of foil drive, and other countries or locations within countries, there can be a lot of hype, a lot of people following, a lot of people, maybe even quite a few people with foil drives already, and other places nothing. I think Poland has surprised me in terms of there was a very small core of people who knew about foil drive.
Absolutely.
But even they didn't really understand its full capability. And I think it's fair to say that they've been pretty much blown away by what it's capable of. And they're just absolutely super stoked about the potential and what it can do for them.
Absolutely with you. And it's funny because they think they know what they're getting on, and then they take it out, and then you see the pot coming out of the water for the first time, and then it goes click, and they come back,
and that's
the point. And then they go like, wow, this has been amazing. It's so light, it's got so much power. And there's been a lot of those moments, especially in Poland. And it's different people, different approaches. Everyone's got like a personal user case.
Yeah.
And I think Foil Drive, being Australian based and coming from Australia, and the first media back then was all these big waves and getting into that, and it was like a assist system to get you in the waves. But like you said, Europe's different. We have a lot of pumping people, especially in Germany where I'm from. Light winging, there's so much potential, and sometimes you don't know what the people are seeing in Foil Drive. Like for me, it's something, and for them it might be something totally different.
Yeah.
Which is
That's one of the best parts of my job, because it's so varied. It really is. Like you say, Australia, all about the big waves and the downwinding. In Europe, I think the biggest element is wing foiling, and
pump foiling's getting there.
Pump foiling is really growing. It's
downwinding a little bit, but
downwinding is definitely
twist,
there. Yeah,
I
think downwinding is very similar to pumping in respect that the people who do it are so passionate about it. And I'm not sure that, I don't think downwinding will ever overtake winging in terms of the sheer numbers and the popularity, but I'm positive that because of the passion that the people who are doing it, the passion that they have for it, it will grow. How big, I don't know, but it'll definitely grow. But as a lot of people have recognized, how will it grow? It has to have something like Foil Drive to allow it to grow, because it's just too difficult otherwise to sort of appeal to more of a mass market. We had so many comments over this weekend here in Poland that it was like they can see the potential in so many other things that they didn't realize. So they all, like you said, they all thought, yeah, when there's waves or a bit of swell, we can use Foil Drive. But now they're thinking, yeah, for winging, especially on those light wind days, or for flat wind pumping when there's absolutely nothing, flat water pumping, I mean. So yeah, it's...
And teaching. We had a lot of schools, a lot of people from schools, and they immediately saw the potential. I made a video on how to get into pumping, and I said, if you can do it reverse, if you start pumping first and then you get into dog start, that's probably the easiest way. Try it behind the boat. And you said something on the weekend I picked up, and that's, if you want to get on foil, you need some sort of energy. That can be a paddle, that can be a wing, and a foil drive is just another sort of energy. It's an electric one, which is really convenient, and it gets you up on foil.
Yeah. And it goes back to something that Paul said to me ages and ages ago, is that you know, we all do this sport because we want to be on foil. That's when we're having fun. You've got to get up on foil first. And yes, if you are strong enough and skillful enough to be able to do that without electrical assistance, then all power to you. That's brilliant. However, there are a lot of times when, even because of the conditions, even the best in the world can't get up on foil. There's just, you know, it's just impossible. I mean, yes, people can paddle up on flat water, but you've got to have a, you know, reasonably big foil, and then that's not so great for surfing. If all we ever wanted to do was just get up on foil, then that's one thing. But we don't. We want to be on foil. So getting up on foil, I don't care if some people see it as cheating. If I'm on foil, I'm having fun. And if I need a wing or a paddle or foil drive to get me up on foil, to me, it doesn't matter what the system is. It's getting me to the point where I'm having fun. And I think, oh, I've lost track of my thoughts now.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You're just.
And what was your original question? Yeah. What was your original question?
I have no idea. No, it's just that you said you need some sort of energy to get on foil.
Yeah.
And I think you pretty much wrapped it up.
Yeah,
it's about being on foil. It's about having fun. And if you use a foil drive, a paddle, a wing, it's pretty much the same.
And what I've remembered now, the point I was trying to get to before I forgot, and that was when you've got some of the best foilers in the world using foil drive, we never anticipated that this would be the case. We thought it was going to be a tool for beginners or for people who maybe had injuries,
handicap maybe,
or just, you know, don't have the time to devote to, you know, developing the skills. You know, if you've got a family life, you've got a busy career, you might not have time to develop those skills. So for people like that, having foil drive just allows you, if you've only got 1 hour every week or a couple of hours every month, it just means that very quickly you can get yourself to the point where you're up on foil, and then you can enjoy the full hour or 2 hours or whatever it is. You know that every session you do, you're going to be able to have 90% of it on foil, rather than just that constant hard slog and probably putting you off trying to make further progress if you don't have time.
Yeah, and that's something we saw in Poland, I think, especially because we had the event, pro surfers, pro wing foilers, and they tried the foil drive. And at the same time, you had newbies, never been on a foil before, and they just got on the big board and they were having fun.
Yeah, I've seen people, I mean, we've been through it ourselves, that learning curve. Learning to foil takes a long time. Every time I see somebody who's got zero foiling experience and they use foil drive, and most of them manage to make it on foil, and they're beginning to foil around, not doing anything, you know, radical or anything like that. But the point is, they're on foil, learning much, much quicker than they would be able to without foil drive.
Yeah, let's talk gear for a second, because I'm getting a lot of questions on what front wing to use, and I was surprised how well the system adapts to all sorts of front wings. You can take it out on, we went out one morning on tiny bumps on high aspect wings. That worked perfectly fine. We went down yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. On a little bit more swell, dropping down in size, a little bit more carvy, and it adapts. And I was on gear, access gear I'd never tried before, and that was perfectly fine for me.
Yeah, well, I think the beauty of foil drive is that you can use pretty much any equipment that you want, but there are going to be compromises. Like there's a compromise with wing foiling. You have to have a board that's suitable for getting on foil with a wing, or for downwind subfoiling. You've got to have a long, narrow board, especially if you want to use a small or a high aspect foil, because you need that board speed. So with foil drive, it's not like an E4 where you have unlimited amounts of power. You've got to have the technique that allows you to get up on foil. And I always used to be about the small prone boards, and I still am really when given a choice. But I've recognized the need to compromise. If I want to use a small high aspect foil for downwinding, for example, then these new mid-length boards are absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty much all the major brands are making them now. You know, the ones that are specific for foil drive, obviously their design is absolutely, you know, you're guaranteed that it's going to be perfect with foil drive. I haven't tested them all, but I'm pretty sure that most mid-lengths...
You will, sooner or later.
I'm doing my best. I'm pretty sure that most, if not all, mid-lengths are going to be good for foil drive. You know, the prone boards, the designs that are coming out now...
They're getting faster, narrow, a little longer.
A little bit of extra width at the tail and flat hull all the way to the back really, really helps. It makes it easier. But what I've found, it's not essential. As long as you've got a good quality board. The one thing that I would say to avoid for foil drive is too much rocker, because then it just sort of pushes through the water and you can never...
Exactly.
Yeah, it's too much drag. It's not going to pick up enough speed, and that's going to really make it difficult to get up on foil.
I think that's what people struggle with when you take them out for the first time. They need to be planning, and that's what you tell them in the demos. You say you need speed. Speed is your friend. You need to get on the water surface.
Yeah.
And if not, you're just wasting and burning energy.
Yeah. Speed is your friend, but get there slowly, because if you accelerate too quickly, then it's very hard to stop the nose from coming up. And yeah, I spend a lot of time on the water at each demo event with people, because it's so much easier for me to be on the water next to them and say, move further forward on the board, or at this stage you need to be putting more pressure on your front foot, and that really accelerates the learning process for them. So yeah, boards, I think most wing foil board designs are getting to be pretty much perfect for foil drive now. To begin with, a lot of them were too short and wide. A little bit of extra length is really, really good because it just glides better. But I think most of that is also because most foils for winging are more high aspect ratio, they're faster, they got more glide. Therefore, they need that bit of extra sort of board speed to help get them up on foil. The old foils, you pump very aggressively to get up on foil. These ones, not so much. Yeah, you still pump them, but not so much porpoising. It's much more of a sort of a flat bounce. And that design lends perfectly for foil drive. It really does. So I don't think you can go wrong with many of the mid-lengths or the wingboard designs. Obviously, the long, narrow sup boards make it ridiculously easy to get on foil. But then
save even more energy.
Yeah, but then for most people, why would you bother with a long, narrow sup downwind board when the whole point of foil drive is it allows you to get on foil with much smaller boards.
Without sacrificing, like you're not really sacrificing anything.
Yeah. So
I think there's two more questions. The first one is, which we get asked a lot on the events, is how long does the battery last? And this comes down to gear, what we just said, and skill level. Like people, they go out for the first maybe 2-3 times, they burn a lot of energy, and they might come back after 30-40 minutes, have to swap batteries. And then once you're progressing, you can stay out with the right gear for an hour and a half, or even longer if you're, maybe pumping, getting on foil, or even downwinding, up downwinding, reverse downwinding. It all comes down to skill and gear. Yeah, conditions, weight. Oh yeah.
So many factors that influence the duration of battery. I mean, it's not really changed for an average weight, average skill person. Let's just say 80 kilos. Certainly should be getting over an hour on a power battery. So about 3/4 of an hour on a sport battery. I quite often get close to an hour and a half on a power battery if I'm in, clean conditions, if there's not much wind. But if there's 20 knots, then I'll be lucky to get, I was still close to an hour on a battery. doing up downwind, as you get heading into the wind, it's obviously going to create a huge amount of drag, and you know, it just draws more current, uses more power. But we were doing up downwinders, just real short runs yesterday,
which was amazing. It was so much fun.
2.5 hours worth of it.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. But we were only going, I don't know, somewhere between 600-800 meters upwind,
Probably.
and then turning around and coming back. But just loop after loop after loop.
And that's so many meters you're actually clocking on the wave. I could have been out prone falling yesterday, maybe catching 10 waves each 100 meters.
Oh, without full drive, you mean?
Without full drive.
Yeah.
And that was just one go. That's the same distance. And I did, I don't know, 10 to 15 on one battery, which was still soaked. Still feel it in my muscles.
Yeah, the first two batteries...
You should turn around, go back to Poland, thinking, makes me think about another session.
The first two batteries, the wind was pretty strong, wasn't it? The kite surfers and kite foilers were out on... Well, I know somebody was on a 10 meter and he came back in to change down because he was overpowered. I'm guessing it was somewhere around, I think it was 15 to 20 knots. And heading into the wind, obviously, you know, that drains the battery a little bit more. But that third battery, our last one for the day, the wind very quickly dropped. And then it was almost effortless. I can remember that last 20% where it was...
was getting better and better.
Yeah, I had so many runs between 20 and 10%. I kept on thinking, why is the battery percentage not dropping? And I realised it's because there's no wind every time you're going upwind. It makes such a difference. So if you're lucky enough to be in this is what I mean, the conditions have such an impact, such an influence on the battery duration. If you've got swell coming in and there's no wind, then you're going to get so much longer out of a battery. But at the same time, if you've got winds, you just got to accept the fact that your battery is going to drain a little bit quicker. If you're heading into it. So yeah, it was nice glides, nice swell coming in. When the wind is there, it's fine, but when the wind's not there, it changed, didn't it? It suddenly became just so much more chilled. There wasn't anything to cause like a struggle, so you had to be really on it in those first sort of 2 hours, and that last half hour, everything was mellow. You could see the lines that you had to take. There was nothing sort of trying to trip you up.
And you could also see the click moment on the surface, because you mentioned the wind dropped down, they went back on the beach, and they've been sitting waiting for more wind. All the kites went down. Everyone was watching us.
It was just...
And they go like... sometimes it takes a few minutes to understand what Foil Drive is doing. They think it's an e-foil zooming up and down. Then they see you're going out and you're surfing all the way back in. And then they adapt to their user case. And then they come and they approach you and they say, oh yeah, I'm living Hell Peninsula. I could do downwinds. I imagine this, going out, coming back, and just taking it for a level of safety, security, getting back. There's so many user cases. And that's why I like the demo events. People can see it, people can try it, and yeah, you never know what's on their mind.
Yeah. Well, once those white caps had gone and the wind had dropped, nobody else was able to do anything. And it was just us three out there on the foil drives. And it was one of those moments where, like you say, people who were on the water and now on the beach, some of them gutted because, you know, some people had just turned up and, you know, they hadn't had much of a session. And even those people who'd been on the water a while, a lot of those people weren't ready to stop, but they had no choice. And they were looking at us and going, wow, okay, so those guys can foil in this, nobody else can. And it's just one of those moments where a lot of people are going, now I get it.
Yeah.
Okay,
all
all right.
Really that click moment, I think. Especially if you take them out on Foil Drive.
Yeah, yeah. Another click moment, like you mentioned earlier, is when people first start pumping. So even people with e-foil experience, you know, those guys obviously pick up Foil Drive really quick because they're used to controlling the lift that's generated by the motor. But as you know, you cannot pump an e-foil. It's just not possible. I mean, you can for a very short period of time, but it's especially with a small foil, it's just pointless, really. But once they've got high on the mast, got the motor out of the water, and they're able to pump freely, then it's just like, we had so many comments over the weekend about, oh wow, I didn't realize just how easy it was to pump with one of these things. And you know,
and I think again that's a more European thing, because we don't have the big swell, we don't have the big oceans and massive waves. Pumping is just more common. It's a way to get on foil. And there were a lot of professional, semi-professional wing foilers on the demo, and I think they had little to none expectations on the demo because they thought it's an e-foil, and they took it out. And then some of them even went, oh, we have to change the mast, the motor, it's in the wrong position. I was like, no, it's on purpose, because it's not like you can set it up as an e-foil, but this one's not. It's set up as a surf tool. And we had a few ones and they got along really well. Like literally first try, they got up and they've been foiling around, and then they started to pop out and get into pumping. And they came back stoked. They were like, oh yeah, this was way better than I thought it would be.
I think I know the two that you're talking about. We got some good footage of them as well. They made really good progress because, you know, they're pro wing foilers. I think one of them was a foil designer for a local Polish company. And they had e-foil experience. So you're right. They basically asked us for a go, thinking that it was a lightweight e-foil alternative. And I think their expectations were pretty low in thinking, well, does it have enough power? Probably doesn't have much runtime. And then when we explained to them and took them through it, they were like, they obviously got on foil super quick and easy, and they were motoring around. So I went out and started talking through them the technique for pumping. One of them got it super quick. The other one, like you say, he kept on asking if we could change the position of this, that, and the other. And I was like, no, just stick with it. Once you're up, transfer your weight back. And once he'd got that, once he'd sort of figured out the purpose of, all right, when you're motoring, you've got to have pressure on the front foot to keep the nose down. But when you're not using the motor, you don't have that lift generated by the props anymore. And you then have to transfer your weight backwards to be able to pump. And once he'd got that, you know, the grin on his face was like, it was just priceless. And, you know, from thinking that it was just some cheap e-foil alternative to thinking or realizing I can now pump on flat water without the need for a dock. I can wake thieve, I can ride the wakes as long as I like.
He was already thinking about it. He came back and he was like, oh yeah, this was great, but now if I would size down this board a little bit, because we're on demo gear, so it's suited to a wider audience. And he was like, already, if I put this on this, on this, and this, and this, I could do this, and this, and this. So that was pretty sweet,
Well, it's almost like you can see the cogs turning. And a lot of people, like you said, for the schools, the people who own and run schools, as well as the competitors, it's like what they can use Foil Drive for when they can't be doing anything else, when they're waiting for the wind, when there's, you know, no swell. It's like it suddenly means that they can be on foil, or they can have their customers, their clients on foil. When the wind lets them down, or when there's nothing else to do, they can still be having fun on foil. So I think that was the biggest sort of trend throughout this event in Poland, was the amount of people who just realize how Foil Drive can help them to carry on having fun when, you know, and there's nothing else to do because of the conditions.
Yeah, maybe a quick chat about the setting in Poland, which was exceptional, good. We had a really nice hotel placed right on the spot. You could literally leave the step onto the beach.
Vienna House Hotel?
Vienna House, I think Amber Baltic Sea. Great event team.
Yeah, I think it's possibly one of the best events I've been to because it was so well run. Everything was laid on, everything was there that you could possibly need. Everything was done so professionally and slick.
Free beer all day for the Polish people.
Unfortunately, we had to turn one person away from having demos because they had quite a few drinks already. But yeah, free food, free drinks, what's not to like?
The first time you asked him, the second time he said, "Oh, this is the first one."
Yeah, as he was slurring his words. Yeah. So couldn't let him have a go.
No, but it was a
safety first.
Really good vibe on the whole event. A good mixture of professionals, schools, everything.
Yeah. The people who run it, super friendly, super accommodating.
Yes.
I've only got good things to say about this event. It was very well run, good setting. Everybody, all the competitors, just seemed to be that really nice mixture of competitiveness, but sort of everybody being friendly and getting on with each other and being, open.
And everyone staying at the same spot made it feel a little bit like a family, almost.
Yeah, so it was good community.
Yeah, good vibes, for sure.
And the awards evening, was on another level. It's like in a ballroom,
chandelier.
Biggest chandelier I've ever seen in my life. So it's sort of like a black tie event, but more than half of the people were not wearing black ties. They were just, smart-ish.
Bongs, bodies, black ties, all mixed up.
I definitely let the side down because I didn't know, so I didn't bring any smart gear along with me. But I think I pulled off the Foil Drive T-shirt with
like every day,
panache. Apart from today, yeah.
No, and even after that, there's another floor downstairs. It was like a proper 70s discotheque.
Surely that was 80s. I'm sure I had 80s vibes there. 80s merging in with the 90s.
Apparently, it's a famous place back from the 80s, and they shot a film, The Young Wolf or something.
Oh yeah, I remember someone saying. I can imagine.
It's got some reputation, this area, for Polish people from Poland. Yep, great event. Small wrap up. So, anything else on your mind, burning under your fingernails you want to get out there?
I think there's a lot on my mind. I'm excited to go to some new places in the future. Like we sort of discussed briefly earlier on, like every country has such a different feel to it, and correspondingly, Foil Drive can fit in different ways, and I'm excited to learn what those ways are. Flat water pumping for me has always been a huge part of foiling, and I really want to push people's awareness of Foil Drive being used in this way, because just being able to have the freedom of pumping further than you would normally be able to go if you're restricted to coming back to a dock. We all know those tiny little pump boards have so little volume that paddling them back is a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah.
And again, pump foiling is great, but if you're lucky enough to have a place where you can wake thieve, then I know from personal experience how frustrating it is. You join the wake and you're having such fun time on that wake, and you know that your time is limited and you've got to get off to be able to pump back again. And the amount of times that I've fallen and it's just been, oh no.
And there's a second part to it. If you wake thieving and you're dock starting, you're limited to a certain amount of front wings because you can't scale down.
Yeah.
You still need to be able to run start, dock start that one. That's one of the main reasons I'm using Foil Drive. I can dock start, I can get into it, I can have fun. Yeah. But I want to scale down my front wing to be more radical on my turns. And
definitely.
That's a huge benefit.
Yeah, and also for the fact that you scale down your front wing a little bit, it's not unlimited, but you definitely can. Then you can access the faster wakes. Because if you've got a big pump foil, they're usually slow, and the really big ones don't turn very well at all. But the smaller, like the Art V2 999, so good. There's not many people
for me.
that, well, yeah, you're a light guy, but for me at 82 kilograms, I can't dock start the Art V2 999. Very few people who can. So for most people like myself, A, can't dock start it anyway, but Foil Driver can. The Art V2, it's got such a good range that it can cope with the small, slow wakes, but it can also do really well on the much faster, bigger wakes. And it's one of the few foils that I've used that I think that with Foil Drive, it's going to open up so much more fun for me.
Absolutely. Same for me on the Sapphire Razor Pro. I'm not able, maybe 1 out of 10 on a running start, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
And paired with a Foil Drive, it's just heaven.
Yeah.
It's just so much potential coming up.
And extends your range. I mean, with the Max, obviously you've got all that runtime. I can do it, no problem with the power battery, and you've got all that extra runtime, no problem at all. But when I'm doing a proper pump foil session, I would definitely choose the Sport battery because it's, I think, just over 1 kilo lighter, and you really do notice that difference when you're doing dedicated flat water pumping. I mean, if you're pumping to link waves or pumping when I'm downwinding, even the power battery is not a problem at all. But I absolutely adore the Slim with the performance battery for proper dedicated flat water pumping, wake thieving sessions, because it's so light, it's ridiculously light. It's still got loads of power to get up on foil with those smaller foils we've been talking about. You don't have a huge amount of runtime on the motor. You've got enough to, you know, little boosts of power every now and again, but you can't just be on the trigger motoring around for long distances. But that's not the point. You know, for flat water pumping or wake thieving, there's enough in there to extend a session massively. And, you know, you're pumping, you're on a wake, you're at the next wake, you're pumping in between, but if you need a little bit of power on the motor, then you can. And, you know, the performance batteries are pretty cheap, really. They're obviously a much lower price than the bigger batteries, so it's pretty affordable to have a spare. So you get 2 performance batteries with the Slim, and it's dock start heaven. It really is.
It is.
Super light.
And I think that's another click moment for a lot of people we took out over the weekend. They are concerned about the added weight. They got their gear. It's depending on what you put on, it's like roughly 4.5 kilograms. And they come back from the demo and it's like, I didn't feel the weight at all. Once I'm up on foil, there's a little bit of drag if the foil drive is still in the water, not much, but once you're up on foil, it's almost gone.
Yeah.
Or it is gone, because the weight is in the right place.
Yeah.
That's making all the no swing rate. And I have at least, I think, 4 or 5 people that mainly experienced foilers, and they came back and they said, wow, that's what actually blew me away.
Yeah.
Once you're up on foil, once you're pumping, there's a little bit when you dip the pot, you can feel it. Not really, you forget about it.
If it's dipping in and out occasionally, it doesn't really set you back much at all. In fact, it's hard to notice it.
Yeah.
But
and that's something
if it's constantly in the water, then it does. Yeah. No, but I think the point that I'm trying to make is that, yes, with the Max and the power battery, that's the biggest and heaviest one. On a big foil, it doesn't hold you back at all. But if you're on a small foil and you're doing flat water pumping, then you can feel that weight, and it does make it harder to pump a small foil. So if you want to be using smaller foils, I mean, not tiny ones, you wouldn't for flat water pumping, but like the Art V2 999, you can pump that around a little bit if you're on the Max and the power battery, but that weight does have an impact on it. It's 1,000 centimeters squared. It's going to have an impact on it. But with the Slim, because it's such a little weight, the Slim with the performance battery, I think, is 2.3 kilograms, as opposed to 4.5. I mean, I barely notice it.
Me neither.
And
really,
it's for people who just want pure performance for flat water pumping. then the Slim is a really good option.
Yes.
So yeah, that's my favorite for flat water pumping, to use the Slim and the performance battery. Pretty much everything else, I would choose the Max with the power battery, because that extra runtime is always useful.
Yes. And maybe one more thing, a lot of people rocked up really late to the event, and we still had to give them a go, even though we were already packing down. But
It was a long day. Yeah.
I think it's really having the opportunity to try a foil drive is such a great thing. So keep an eye on social media. There's events all around the world. I think that's the best part. You could look at the website, you can watch YouTube, you can see all the videos, but there's nothing like trying it firsthand, having that click moment, feeling the acceleration, getting up on foil, and feeling how the weight and the whole system just disappears once you're on foil.
Yeah. Well, this is why we're trying to, well, not trying, we are working very hard at getting a big network of dealers throughout the whole of Europe. And those dealers all have a demo unit that if you want to go and try it before you buy it, then it's available there. We also have ambassadors and team riders who are doing their best to help promote it. Now, I'm not going to say that all ambassadors and team riders are happy to let people demo their kit, because it's their gear. You know, they've paid obviously for all their foiling equipment, and you know, a substantial percentage of the foil drive. They don't get the foil drives for free. These guys are, you know, they're still paying for a lot of their equipment. So yeah, hopefully there's opportunities for people to actually use foil drive, try it before you buy it, that sort of thing. Yeah, just trying to make it as accessible as possible for people, because it's a big investment, and we want to make sure people make the right choice for what they need.
All right. So what's up in the future? What's the next event, AWSI?
Yeah, I'm going to the US for AWSI, meeting up with the Foil Drive team for the first time in a year. That's going to be so good to meet up with those guys again. That's obviously in Hood River, so pretty nice location to meet up.
Everyone wants to go.
Well, last year it was Paul, Ben, myself, and we met up with the two Davids, David Fox and David De Veres, who were absolutely amazing. They helped us out, worked so hard, and we turned up just before the event, just had enough time to set up the evening before, and we booked our flights literally the afternoon of the day after the event. So we didn't have much time for fun in the, you know, the hatchery, which is right next to the event, and we really regretted it. So there was a little bit of time on the morning after the event before we had to drive off to the airport, and we did get one sort of evening session, but we're not going to make the same mistake again. We've booked enough time before and after the event this time, so we can make the most of the conditions. You know, you travel that far and you go to a place like that, you don't really want to you know, not make use of what's on offer. So yeah, AWSI is going to be a really big deal for us this year. We're also launching a few new products, although I would like to state right now that Gen 2 is not going to be changed. It's the Gen 2 system. The Slim and the Max are going to be there for a long time. There are no plans to change those. So if you've got one or you're just thinking about getting one, it's not going to be upgraded and become obsolete. No way, not for a long time. It's future-proofed for a good long time. After that, yeah, there's a few sort of more localized events, nice sort of informal downwind events in north of Holland, and a few dotted about here and there, but after that, obviously it'll be winter, and yeah, boat in Düsseldorf.
Oh yeah,
there's a big argument at the moment as to whether
2025.
Yeah, whether it should be pronounced boot or boat.
Boat. It's German, so
it's a German word.
It's got a double O.
Yeah,
So.
the trouble is, it's spelt B-O-O-T, which in English is boot.
I know.
But it's a German word,
Yeah,
so it
boat,
should be pronounced
which means
their
boat,
way, which is
so.
boat. Yeah, yes.
So it's mainly about boats, but there's a
Definitely not about boots at
there's
all.
a really big dedicated area for kiting, wing foiling, foiling. They've got a proper pool for testing, show, demo. For the first time, I think, in a long period of time, they're actually changing the layout. They're having a new design that's going to be really nice. It used to be like a tiki style a little bit. Now they're getting more modern, more exhibitors. So that's going to be a good one for sure.
Yeah, it was 9 days.
That's really
and
long.
Although there's a, like I said, a demo pool, I don't think that motorized craft are allowed in it. So we won't be able to do any demos for Foil Drive, but we will have, hopefully, again, we'll have some exciting new products that we're hoping to be able to release at Boat Show in Düsseldorf. So that's something to look forward to. And then obviously it's the after that preparing for the new season. So yeah, Foil Drive will be out in more places in Europe next year. More events, more demos, hopefully helping people to have more fun.
That's the whole point. So keep an eye on social media, YouTube, and make sure to not miss out on your chance to try it yourself.
Cool.
Sweet. All right. Want to say hello to Mark Shinn? Hello, Mark Shinn. He's
Mark,
missing.
dude, thanks for your help, mate.
He's been with us the weekend.
He's been an absolute legend. I really appreciate all your help. And yeah, meet up again soon, man. Cheers.
Cut.
Sponsorami tegorocznej edycji festiwalu są również Foil Drive. Wielkie brawa dla tej firmy. Ja się zastanawiam, kto z was próbował Foil Drive'a. Ręka w górę. O, więc właśnie, jak wrażenia?
Jak wrażenia? Krótko.
Znaczy ja próbowałem, ale niestety